Hey leaders, welcome to November week 2 of The Stand, facing our fears with God, right? That's what we're doing. And so today's Bible story is going to be David being anointed and then also David and Goliath. So it's actually really two stories kind of wrapped into one, or the continuation of the story. And then our bottom line today, you can do what you should even when things seem impossible, right? So when David was going up against Goliath, everyone was laughing and stuff, not sure what was going on, like, the smallest little kid is about to take on the biggest giant kind of thing. And so it's a really cool story on how we can have courage. Even when things seem impossible, we can rely on God. So no matter what we're doing, as long as we're focusing on God and showing up for Him, then nothing is impossible, right? And so how cool of a story to really understand this virtue of courage, being brave enough to do what you should, even when we're afraid, right? Even when things seem impossible. And so today, your first activity, you're gonna have them do some impossible tasks, okay? And so some of these will be possible for some will be impossible for others. And so we'll kind of see how that works out, but there's a list of different things and challenges that they can do to see if they can do it correctly, or if it's impossible for them. In the second activity, you're gonna have a impossible side of the room, okay? And so you can mark this on a sticky note and put it on one side, or a piece of paper and put it on one side, and then put an I for one side for impossible, or a P on the other side for possible, or you can do a check mark or an X and something like that. And it's some way to notify this one's the possible side, this one's the impossible side. Then you're gonna go through some scenarios, okay? And in these scenarios, it's basically, is this a possible scenario or an impossible scenario? So, and some of them are gonna vary a little bit. Some are legitimately impossible. The other ones are your brother ate breakfast this morning. Well, if they don't have a brother, then that could be impossible. But if they do, then that could be possible. So you'll have a couple that are kind of fun, just depending on where they are, who they are, and in their actual circumstances. Then you're going to go off to the Bible story and hear about how what seemed like an impossible situation was made possible with God, okay? And again, that's that beautiful story of David and Goliath and David being anointed. And the cool thing about David being anointed is he was the least likely to be anointed from a human standpoint, right? He wasn't the oldest, he wasn't the tallest, he wasn't the most handsome. He was the youngest shepherd boy that they had to go find after they already said nope to all these other boys. So anyway, it'll be a good story. So break that down a little bit in this next activity as well. And basically, what you're doing with this one is you're having some scenarios on what they want versus what they should. And so what you're going to do is have them fold. They're going to get a piece of paper, fold it twice. So once, do a crease, twice, do the crease, and then they can reopen it back up. And then you're going to say, okay, here's a scenario, right? The first scenario is, you're going to give them 4 scenarios. The first one is, there's a man calling you names and making fun of your clothes, okay? A mean kid. There's a mean kid calling you names and making fun of your clothes, okay? First, they can verbally say what they would want to do, their natural inclination of what they would want to do, right? I'd be mean to him back. That's just getting them understanding this is our natural sin and natural the way that we want to respond to it. But then after they get all of that out, they're supposed to write what they should do, right? What they know is actually a good response to the situation, right? So that one could be if it's a kid being mean to them, go tell a adult, a trusted adult, what happened and stuff like that. And so so that'll be a really good one for them to just understand the different scenarios. And then there's a couple of little lines on there, what we want to do is easy, what we should do requires courage, right? And then just remembering that God is with us, especially when we need that courage. And so He will be with us and help us through that. Okay, this next one, you'll have a piece of paper. They're actually going to make some paper airplanes with this piece of paper, okay? If you want, you can even use those same folded ones and just reuse that. But what you're doing is going through the story again, and you're also going to put some sort of X on a wall that is about the height of Goliath, okay? And so what they're gonna do is actually take that paper airplane and try to hit the target of Goliath's head, or the little sticky note that's on the wall. as they are also responding to the different questions and review that you have for them, okay? And so to keep this one under wraps, you can go through all the review stuff while they're making their paper airplanes, and then they get the ability to actually shoot and see if they can hit the target, that kind of thing. So, and then as the youngest in a big family of brothers, he seemed like the most unlikely choice, but God used David in a big way and gave him some of that amazing courage in the process. Okay, this next one is the duck, duck verse. Okay, this one's gonna be really cool. That's what we call it. So basically you get them all in a circle like you're gonna do duck, duck, goose, but instead of doing duck, duck, goose, you're actually saying the whole memory verse as you touch their heads. Now the very last word of the memory verse is go, and so that makes it easy to, whenever you say the word go and you touch that kid's head, then they get up and chase you around the circle, and then if you sit down first, you're safe. If they tag you before you're able to sit down, then you got to do it again. And so that'll be a really fun one. And you go ahead and start that with like you doing it first and like, you know, having them get used to that, and then they can start doing the same thing. But help them through that verse if they get a little stuck as well. Then you're pray and dismiss, okay? And so you're gonna sit in a tight circle and then remind kids that they can always talk to God when they need courage, right? And they seem to face the impossible situations, right? And then go in and give them a moment to pray silently, okay? And then there's a guided prayer after they have a moment to pray silently. And make sure you take this prayer time seriously. I think it's really important for them to have that prayer time, and I think it's really good for them to remember that they can pray for courage and for any other situation that they come up across. And that's it for this week, guys. Thank you so much for all that you do. We will see you guys soon.